How's it going, guys? Welcome in to Talkin Hawkin episode 3. So excited to get back on here. If you watched some of my other videos, you know it's probably been like a month since I posted. Life got in the way a little bit, but we're going to be on here going hard as possible. Hopefully 2 to 3 times a week. I know that that's not as consistent as I'd want it to be, but I still do work a full-time job, if you couldn't tell by my subscriber count. So leave a sub, drop a like, all that fun stuff. Help me grow a little bit, and yeah, let's get into it. So while I was on my little hiatus, the Seahawks made a little bit of a move, not too notable. Mike Macdonald is the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks for the next 6 years at least. Really excited about it because Mike Macdonald is a stud. I'm not going to harp on him too long because I know that your favorite Seahawks YouTuber has probably already covered him, so I'm not going to give you my in-depth analysis. I would just say that he seems like an amazing guy from the press conferences that I've seen and the interviews. Players seem to like him a lot. His former players talk tremendously about him, and the new guys seem pretty excited about him too. And I really do think that we see our young guys step up into that elite category of players. Guys like Tariq Woolen, Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Devin Witherspoon, these guys are going to take the next steps up and become elite players at their position. And I know this because we saw it last year with the Ravens defense. We saw guys like Justin Matabuke become one of the best defensive tackles in the league. If you didn't watch Ravens games this year, you probably don't know how good he was, really, but he was a monster. Patrick Queen, Marcus Williams became some of the best at their positions last year after being kind of just forgotten guys. Yeah, and Mike Macdonald is able to do that because he's able to see players' weaknesses and strengths really clearly and scheme them up to play the best that they can play. You're not going to see guys like Boye Mafe drop into coverage and guard people's number one receivers like we saw all year. So we saw Boye Mafe covering George Pickens in the Steelers game just like a couple weeks before the season ended, and that was because Pete Carroll was so scared of getting beat deep that he'd have his corners running, I don't know, like 15 yards off the ball starting out, and then covering guys and cover 4 concept, cover 3 concepts to really just limit the deep ball, and then the middle of the field was wide open because you had guys like Bobby Wagner and Boye Mafe covering the middle, and that's just unacceptable. So what will change with Mike Macdonald? He ran the best defense in the league last year. Number 1, he set records. The first time ever a defense has had a triple crown, which is most takeaways in the league, most sacks in the league, and fewest points per game allowed in the league, all in one season. Really impressive stuff, and that just speaks volumes to his mind for football and what he's able to do with the guys he has. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the offensive side of the ball. Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff coming in, and what we could potentially see in the draft, what could we see scheme-wise, and what players will stand out on the Seattle offense. Mike Macdonald is bringing a brand new look to this organization, and he's starting by assembling his staff around him. We recently snagged Ryan Grubb from Alabama to be the offensive coordinator. Grubb headed a top 10 Washington offense in 2023 and led them all the way to the national championship. His air raid style offense seems pretty primed to be productive in the NFL, especially with the guys he has to work with in Seattle. I mean, Geno Smith is a perfect fit with Ryan Grubb as he excels in the shotgun formation. DK Metcalf should feast as well, becoming that Rome Odunze role in the scheme where he will be getting a lot of deep balls and a lot of touchdowns. I expect him to put up double-digit touchdowns next year and take the next step to being a top 10 receiver in the league. I do think Lockett's role stays generally the same. He's going to be that reliable short to midfield guy who Geno looks for to pick up the first downs and gets the ball to under pressure. No one in the league is better at finding open grass and giving the quarterback an outlet to get rid of the ball than Tyler Lockett, and that's just facts. Now JSN is going to be the X factor to this offense. Grubb, unlike Waldron last year, has shown he has the ability to get his wide receiver threes involved a whole lot. Last year, Washington's number 3 wide receiver was Jalen McMillan, who was able to contribute significantly to the offense. I do think Jackson Smith-Njigba probably takes the leap over Lockett and becomes that number 2 receiver next year, but if he doesn't, we can still expect him to get targets and make an impact. Kenneth Walker could also be on the rise. As much as this will be a throw-first offense, the running backs should see a much more efficient season than last year. Last year's Seattle rushing game was severely lacking. Waldron was the most predictable play caller in the NFL, to the point where it was a meme in the Seahawks community that we all knew if it was second down, expect a run. And believe me, the opponents knew too. Walker averaged 4.1 yards a carry last year. And if it weren't for his shiftiness and his ability to make nothing into something, we probably would be looking at closer to 3 yards a carry. But I know he's sick of having to run 40 yards to pick up 4. So with Waldron gone and Grubb in, how will this rushing attack improve? First, Grubb is going to bring along Scott Huff to be his O-line coach. Together in Washington, these guys assembled the best O-line in college football, and I don't think anything will change here. Grubb himself is an O-line coach at heart, and he knows exactly how to scheme up open rushing lanes for running backs. They just need a couple of interior linemen to fill out this line that really struggled immensely last year due to injury. In my last mock draft, I had Seattle taking Troy Fautanu from Washington to be the right guard of the future. Left guard, actually. And with Grubb and Huff now in Seattle, I think that's an even more likely scenario. Fautanu earned the Morris Trophy Award as a tackle in Washington. The award is given to the best lineman in the Pac-12, offense and defense, and is voted on by coaches in the division. It's a very prestigious award, and if you win it, you are an elite player to say the least. So if we were to add him to this roster with guys like Charles Cross, Abe Lucas, Damian Lewis, if we retain him and he's willing to play right guard, because I really don't want to put Troy Fautanu at right guard if he's not very comfortable playing on the right side just yet. We could be looking at a top 5 unit in a couple of years with those guys. But I also like to talk about another Washington player that Seahawks fans are pretty split at the moment. Some guys are for Geno, and some guys are for drafting a quarterback. And the most likely quarterback that we would draft is probably Michael Penix Jr. With Grubb coming in, many believe that he would want Penix in Seattle. He worked with them in Washington for 2 years, I believe. And with the 16th pick in the draft, Seattle most likely could make it happen. But how would that turn out? Some say he's too old, he has bad footwork, he's not as mobile as an NFL quarterback needs to be, etc. But if anyone knows how to utilize him in the right way, wouldn't it be Ryan Grubb? Again, these guys were in the national championship game a couple months ago. They obviously know how to work together. I do see issues with Penix, and quite frankly, I agree with most of them. He certainly wouldn't be my pick out of this draft class for a quarterback, but I think it's undeniable that he could fit into the system and be elite. But that's about it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys watching, and we're going to be going a lot harder on this channel 2 to 3 times a week. Leave a like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.